care for some ketchup for your Wiener Schnitzel.
Hello and welcome to Sweet Shiznits. I'm your host, Jason White.
And I'm your hostess, Krista White.
And with us today we have a special guest. Why don't you introduce yourself, special guest?
I'm Shelby. I'm their child.
Shelby is our child. And what is Sweet Shiznits? Or what are Sweet Shiznits? How are Sweet Shiznits? Why are Sweet Shiznits?
Sounds like roasted peanuts right now to me. But we are a podcast that likes to watch awesome 80s movies. Well, they're not all awesome, but we like to watch good old 80s movies, and then we like to get on the air and tell you all about them.
Yes, we watch your favorite 80s movies. We watch your least favorite 80s movies. Sometimes we watch 80s movies that you've never heard of. Today we watched an 80s movie that you probably have heard of, and we'll get to that in just a minute. First, we're going to talk about our 5-star reviews. We got another 5-star review today, and we are going to read it for you. Who would like to read our 5-star review?
You.
I guess I would like to read our 5-star review. Today's 5-star review is brought to you by me. Gorilla Radio says, I've learned so many odds and ends about the films as I listened. You can tell the hosts have put a lot of time and effort in. Well, we'll see. So much potential. I'm excited to keep listening and see where the show goes. I don't know how I feel about him saying so much potential.
Did you say gorilla? I don't know that that's Gorilla Radio.
Gorilla Radio. That's gorilla.
Guerilla.
Yes, like guerrilla warfare.
You think it's gorilla?
I'm sure it's gorilla.
Guerrilla.
Guerilla.
Guerilla.
When I hear they have so much potential, I'm reminded of that student that's getting D's in class.
I don't have any D's.
I wasn't talking about you. But that student that's getting D's in class and the teacher says, but Sean, you have so much potential. So apparently we have so much potential. We could be getting straight A's.
Jason, I see a lot of potential in you.
But instead we're getting C's and D's. So maybe we can live up to that potential, Mr. Gorilla Radio or Miss Gorilla Radio.
Guerilla.
So we watched a movie.
Sometimes the L's are not even pronounced.
If it's Mexican. If it's a Mexican.
Garilla. We can just talk all evening about how to pronounce this.
If it's in Spanish. Guerilla.
Guerilla. Radio. No?
Can you roll your R's, Shelby?
I don't want to roll my R's.
Guerilla.
Okay, you need to talk into the microphone.
I don't want to roll my R's.
So we watched a movie this week.
And it was called?
It was called
Who Framed
Your
Roger Rabbit?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
This is the tale of an up-and-coming movie star named Roger Rabbit and a down-and-out private detective named Eddie Valiant.
Ooga booga!
Every moment they were together was a new adventure in trouble.
Hide me, Eddie! Please!
It's a motion picture about friendship.
Please, Eddie! Don't tell me out, you're making a big mistake!
Love. Compassion.
All right, I'm sorry I yanked your ears.
All the time you yanked my ears?
Murder.
Marvin Acme. The rabbit cacked him last night.
Remember, you never saw me.
Sex.
I'd do anything for my husband, Mr. Valiant. Anything.
And violence.
Tunes. Gets him every time.
You wouldn't have any idea where the rabbit might be?
Got a thing for rabbits, huh?
The whole thing stinks like yesterday's diapers.
It's a comedy a little different from all the rest.
I'm a pig! I'm a tune!
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket or are you just happy to see me?
Touchstone Pictures and Steven Spielberg present a Robert Zemeckis film.
We tunes may act idiotic, but we're not stupid.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Not What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Shelby? Shelby got to pick the movie.
We watched What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
No. Shelby, why did you pick this movie?
Because you were gonna watch something rated R, and I didn't want to leave the living room.
We watched How to Train Your Dragon.
Why are you just saying just odd movie titles here?
We watched Who's the Boss Season 3.
Are you going to just continue to just throw things out there?
Just things that start with a question.
I picked Who Framed Roger Rabbit because I didn't want to watch Goonies.
We will be watching Goonies, though.
I probably won't be in there.
And Who
That's
Framed
fine.
Roger Rabbit, though the name of the movie is a question, there is no question mark at the end of the title.
That is correct.
So it's not a question.
And in
So
this-
who is apparently the name of the person who framed
well,
Roger Rabbit.
who's on first?
It's a statement.
Who's on first?
The person who framed Roger Rabbit
No, who's
is
on
on
first?
and that's who.
What's on second?
And I don't know who's on third. We've been through this before.
Right, so it's not a question. Who's on
No,
first?
Right. And who also framed Roger Rabbit.
Exactly.
The Who framed Roger Rabbit.
Who's on first is the same one who framed Roger Rabbit.
Right. Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey.
Okay,
The Who.
uh-huh,
As opposed to the Guess Who,
correct. Who's that girl?
which was also a Madonna movie. Who's that girl?
Anyhow, our film
So this
takes
film,
you back. Hey, don't talk over me. Don't do it.
so who produced this film?
Hey, I've got the green light. You have the red light.
I don't see any lights.
Hey, I've got my hand up. No one else can see it. My hand's up. I've got the red light. I've got the red light. You've got the red light. I have the green light.
Was the red light special?
Stay. No, you don't have the red light special. Stay.
The red
This
light
film
special
takes us back.
all
Oh, Shelby
through
just
the night.
gave him a red sign on their phone.
Don't go
Okay,
chasing
listen.
waterfalls.
Listen, be real quiet.
An
Just
example of Dad always
and
interrupting
the
Mom.
streams that you're used to.
okay. I'm gonna talk now. I'm talking. Okay.
Okay.
Takes us back to 1988. It was directed by Robert. Can't talk.
Robert.
It's not my favorite word. I don't like that name. Takes me back to.
I've had 3 grandpas named Robert.
It's not them that I don't like. Well, the one was a little crazy.
I did have one of them was
Takes
crazy.
you back to.
He was my step grandpa.
Yeah, I remember. Robert
Zemeckis.
Okay, sure. Executive produced by Steven Spielberg.
Who produced everything in the 80s.
I'm talking. You red light.
Robert Zemeckis made Back to the Future
Listen. Shh. Be real quiet and try to look pretty.
and The Polar Express.
I'm about to have Shelby to go get something I can throw at you.
I'm okay with that.
Starring Bob Haskins, Christopher Lloyd.
Doc Brown.
I'm really going to find something to throw at you. Alan Tilvern. Napkins are not enough to throw at him.
You want some chocolate to throw at him?
Charles Fleischer
Please throw chocolates at me.
and Kathleen Turner.
Who was not credited.
We'll talk about that later. Let's not jump
Will we?
ahead. We will. It's down in the bottom in the notes and trivia, but we're not in trivia right now. Shelby, would you like to read the next part here? Where are your notes, Shelby?
My notes are on my phone.
Well, your phone is usually up in your face.
You're mean.
So-
I'm not reading it.
Who wants to read this part? You're supposed to be here.
So a brief synopsis, and we'll get into a more in-depth synopsis.
Did I give you the green light? Did I give you a green
brief
light?
synopsis?
Shelby just gave
That's
him
just
the
a
red
red
light
screen.
again.
It's
Well,
not
that-
even a light.
That's the light. Would you like to read the synopsis, Jason?
Come into the light, Carol Ann.
Do you want to read the synopsis?
Down on his luck, private eye, Eddie Valiant
It's Bob Hoskins.
gets hired by a cartoon producer, R.K. Maroon,
Alan Tilvern.
to investigate an adultery scandal involving Jessica Rabbit,
That's really Kathleen Turner.
the sultry wife of Maroon's biggest star.
Is that Maroon 5?
No,
Okay.
Roger Rabbit.
Charles Fleischer. I want to say Fleischman, like Fleischman's margarine.
But when Marvin Acme,
Stubby K. Sorry.
Jessica's alleged paramour and the owner of Toontown, is found murdered,
Dun 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 dun.
the villainous Judge Doom
Christopher Lloyd.
vows to catch and destroy Roger.
Dun 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 dun.
The movie came out June 22nd of 1988.
In the US of A.
As we mentioned, directed by Robert Zemeckis. It cost $70 million to make, which was the most expensive
it says that was
movie.
the budget. It didn't really say that's how much.
That's how much it cost.
Are you sure?
It was the most expensive movie that had been made in the 80s at this point in time.
The box office, though, brought in $329.8 million US dollars.
That's a lot of millions.
I've never seen that many. So,
That's like $1/3 billion.
Really? Really? Is it?
Yes. I can do maths. It's almost $1/3 billion. Just shy. So we have a movie about a detective.
A dick.
A dick. And his name is Eddie.
Eddie Van Halen.
Eddie, we find out his brother, Teddy,
Got killed by a tune.
Who dropped a piano on him.
And he died.
But
sound like I hawked.
The movie actually starts out with Roger filming a cartoon, because he is a cartoon.
With an adult baby.
With an adult
well,
baby.
no, the baby was a baby. The cartoon was.
Baby Herman.
Baby Herman was an adult baby.
Not in the cartoon.
Not in the cartoon, but in...
The actor who plays Baby Herman is an adult baby cartoon.
Doesn't that just mean he was a small, bald man?
No, he was an adult baby.
How are there adult babies, though?
Have you not seen the hit Alec Baldwin movie, Boss Baby?
But still, how does that happen?
Because it's a cartoon, anything can happen.
I'm not buying it.
This is cartoons. There's a rabbit dating a human cartoon.
So, we have...
And for the record, Shelby thinks that Jessica Rabbit is hot.
She
with
is.
2 T's. Hot.
Didn't say that.
So, they're making this cartoon. A refrigerator gets dropped on Roger, and instead of seeing stars, he sees bum 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 birds.
I don't think that was like the mystery there.
And so the director comes out, cuts the scene, and is totally frustrated because Roger is just so distracted because there's something going on in his love life. And so they hire Eddie Valiant to look into what's going on in Roger's love life.
I think you mean Eddie Van Halen.
Eddie Van Valiant. Eddie checks it out and gets pictures of Jessica
playing patty cake.
With
not patty cake.
With Marvin Acme, the owner of Toontown.
Not patty cake. It can't be.
So they're playing patty cake, baker's.
No, just patty cake. No one said
There's
the rest
no
of
baker.
it. No.
So, and you think patty cake might be some kind of innuendo, but it's not. They're just playing patty cake. But this is enough to set Roger off, and he's beside himself.
Listen, we can't go through the whole movie like this.
So, the next day, Acme is found dead, with a safe having been dropped on him. And who is the prime subject? Bum, bum, bum. Roger Rabbit. But did Roger Rabbit kill him, or was he framed?
He was framed, duh. Because Robert, I hate that name.
Robert Rabbit?
Roger Rabbit is innocent and just the love of Jessica's life, and she just knows he couldn't have done it.
And he's too silly to murder anybody.
He's sweet.
And also the name of the movie isn't Who Did Roger Rabbit Kill? It's Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So we know that someone framed Roger Rabbit. We have to find out who. It seems that it may have been Mr. Maroon.
Maroon 5, the band?
Yes. Yes, obviously. It's Adam Levine who framed Roger Rabbit.
Because he wants Jessica Rabbit.
Because Adam Levine doesn't really have moves like Jagger. Roger Rabbit does.
But why would he kill what's-his-face? Because he wanted Jessica Rabbit. If he wanted Jessica Rabbit, he would kill Roger Rabbit.
Well, not he wants to put Roger Rabbit behind bars, and then he can have
He wants to
Rabbit.
frame Roger Rabbit, silly.
All I'm saying is if he wanted Jessica, he could have just cut out the middleman and killed Roger Rabbit.
So, as we're looking into this, they're trying to figure out what's happened, and they bring in the judge, Judge Doom. I mean, it should be a giveaway that something's up when the judge's name is Judge Doom.
And if you could see him,
But it's Toontown.
I mean,
Everyone has weird names.
if you elect a judge named Judge Doom, like, you're just asking for trouble.
and Judge Bloom, I can't talk today. Judge Doom is played by Doc Brown.
Doc Brown, who apparently has gone from being a doctor to a judge, and is now Judge Doom. Something that I read in studying for this film is that Doc Brown or Judge Doom, does not blink.
Oh, I read that too. Whenever his glasses are off.
He never blinks.
Correct.
Ever. So he probably also has dry eyes.
That's possible.
Ben Stein needs to get him some of that Visine to help with his dry eyes.
Okay.
So Judge Doom is out to solve this crime, to catch Roger Rabbit and put him away forever.
But that's not really what he wants to do with him.
No, we also find out that he has developed the dip, which is how you get rid of tunes forever.
And since we're talking about the dip, a little bit of trivia of the dip. There are 3 ingredients that make up the dip that kills the tunes.
You put your hands upon your hip.
No.
And you dip, I dip, we dip.
No. The dip that kills the tunes is made up of turpentine, acetone, and benzene. They are all paint thinners which are used to remove animation from cells.
So they really do kill tunes.
Yes.
So what you're saying is you can remove nail polish with the same thing you use to kill tunes?
Yes.
Yes.
Because tunes are made out of nail polish.
Something.
And now you know. The more you know.
All right. But what he really wants to do is find him guilty and put him in the huge barrel of the dip.
The dip. Which you put just a bit between your cheek and gum.
No, we do not want people to do that. That causes mouth cancer.
It does.
It does.
And
Do
you
not
end up
dip.
with holes in your face.
That is correct. Do not dip.
It does to your face what the dip does to tunes.
Okay, moving on.
So, they go through all of these crazy things because they're cartoons. And they're trying to find out who really did this. And they find out that there was a will. And the will was supposed to have willed Toontown to the tunes. But...
Are you talking iTunes? Like
Yes.
Maroon 5?
Like Maroon 5. We're back to Maroon 5.
Huh. That's crazy.
I've got the moves like Jagger.
But you don't.
I've got
No.
the moves like Jagger. Are my moves more like Keith Richards?
I think we should just move on.
Your moves are more like a dying animal.
Oh, gee, that was not nice, Shelby.
I'm being truthful.
So they're trying to find the will. They can't find the will. It doesn't seem to exist.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Like Will Ferrell?
I don't know.
Will Forte?
I don't know.
The Last Man on Earth?
Will Smith?
No. Shelby, why would you even go there? That doesn't even make sense. Will
Anyway.
Smith, seriously? Why would you even say that?
I did not come here to get attacked. I can just leave.
Leave Virginia alone.
And now you're singing. Seriously? This is not American Idol. We don't come here to sing. We come here to record a podcast.
You literally spent like half of one podcast singing.
Yes, if it was American Idol, then
You would have been eliminated.
Lionel Richie would be here.
Hello.
This isn't, no.
Is it me you're
You can't
looking
sing.
for?
This is not American Idol. This
You
is
just
not.
Tell
said that
me
it's not American
how
Idol.
to win your heart.
This is not The Voice.
Put the pen
For
down.
I
Throw the pen
haven't
down.
got a clue.
Move on.
Throw the pen at
.org.
your husband.
These shoes are made for walking. Move
These
on.
shoes are
It's actually
made for
boots.
walking.
Okay, come on.
Okay. So, anyways, where were we?
I don't know where you
There was a
were.
will.
There was Dip. There was a will that was supposed to leave the town to the Toons.
Yes.
But the judge doesn't want the town to be left to the Toons because he wants to put them all in the Dip. Let's just be honest.
He wants to build a
wall.
freeway. No, he doesn't want to build a wall.
That's someone else. He wants
You
to build
have Judge
wall.
Doom confused with someone else.
with someone else who's a Doom. He wants to build a freeway that will have gas stations and motels and malls and parking place garages
And restaurants. Mm-hmm. And it'll have 8 lanes with no traffic jams. Though
Yeah,
I've
we
been
all know
on
how
these
that
freeways, and that part didn't
you
work
pay
out so well.
paradise and you put up a parking lot.
Yes.
So
And I've also seen the Mothman prophecy, and then people get on this freeway, and then too many people are on the bridge, and the bridge collapses into the Ohio River.
he didn't mention anything about a bridge.
And
You know,
people die.
love can build a bridge.
It's true.
Love can break down walls.
Is that a song?
Yes.
Okay. Anyhow, so where were you going with this?
I don't know. I think we somehow skipped to the end of the movie, because,
Well, we were talking about the judge wants to dip them all.
yeah,
And so he doesn't want the will to come out.
right. So they're trying to hide the will.
Yeah.
And, well, they can't find the will.
But we know where the will is. The private investigator has it.
Well, he doesn't know for sure because he just has a love note
That Roger wrote to Jessica.
in lipstick.
Yeah.
And then after he has to rescue Roger and Jessica because they've been abducted by Judge Doom, and Judge Doom's trying to spray them with the dip that eventually he's going to destroy all of Toontown with. But it turns out, in the big twist of the movie, boom, 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 that Judge Doom
Is a tune.
is a tune. And Judge Doom ends up getting dip poured all over him.
No, hold on a second. But Judge Dooms is actually the tune that killed
Eddie.
Eddie's brother. And when he takes off his glasses, his eyes go that crazy red.
And his voice gets high and squeaky.
Yeah, and his voice gets high and squeaky. And Eddie realizes that he is the one who killed his brother with a piano.
Killed his father. Prepare to die.
Yeah.
And then he reenacts the scene of the witch dying from The Wizard of Oz.
I'm melting. I'm melting. And he sizzles down into a puddle of nastiness.
Yes, he does. And he becomes Dodd.
Yes, Navidad.
But what about Eddie? That's his name. I keep forgetting his name. He still
Freddie.
has to save Roger and Jessica because
They're getting ready to be sprayed.
right.
And he jumps into the truck and shuts it off, and they don't get sprayed. And then all of a sudden, earlier in the movie, Acme had sprayed him with disappearing ink. And it had gotten on his shirt, and then it disappeared. And all of a sudden, the ink's back on his shirt.
Because it's disappearing, reappearing ink.
Of course.
Yes. And then he has a thought. Maybe the will was written in disappearing, reappearing ink on the paper that Roger wrote his love note on.
Because Mr. Acme is the one who sprayed him with the ink on his
Yes.
shirt. So maybe he did that with his will too.
And so he says, Roger, get out your letter and read it. And he says, Jessica, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. And then all of a sudden the will pops up on it. And he starts reading the will. I do hereby bequeath all of Toontown.
Did you say bequeath?
Bequeath.
Bequeath, Dad. Bequeath.
So I'm just surprised that Roger can read because he's just not the smartest bunny in the world.
He's cute. He's cute.
So then they find out that Toontown has been left to the Toons.
And what's funny is that after Eddie saves them, Jessica goes running, and he thinks he's going to get a hug from her. No, she's running to Roger going, "Oh, you saved me." And she hugs him and kisses him, and he's the most wonderful ever, and blah, blah, blah. And love is blind, people. That's all I got to say.
So we obviously skipped a lot of parts of the movie because it's a much longer movie than
You always
20
start
minutes.
out by telling every single moment, and I feel like I could die. But
So-
then there's a point where I think my daggers that make you start speeding up.
So we're going to get into some trivia.
Oh, wait.
Trivia.
But
Trivia.
I got to tell one of my favorite parts of the movie, because if I don't,
We're not there yet.
if I don't, I'll forget it. You know how my brain is.
You're getting ahead.
One of my favorite parts of the movie, though, is when Eddie is trying to hide Roger Rabbit from the judge and his mean cartoon dudes.
The weasels.
Sure. If you hear dings, jangling, that's just our dogs walking around. We're just lucky they're not barking.
It's our reindeer. We keep reindeer in the house.
No, I'm pretty sure that's
We
not
only
it.
use them once a year when we go to deliver presents
Okay,
to poor children around the world.
So Eddie is trying to hide Roger Rabbit because the judge in his cartoon wolves are
They're
trying.
weasels.
They are weasels now.
Fine, but some of them are big weasels.
They're still weasels.
They're cartoons. They can be whatever size they
They're
draw
trying
them.
to find Roger, okay? And the judge says, "I know he's here somewhere and I know how to find him." So he goes around the bar going, shave and a haircut, but he's knocking it everywhere. And periodically he says it. And you look over and you see Roger, and he looks like he's about to blow his top. He's trying to hold it in and trying really hard. And Eddie's really worried. He's like, Roger, no, Roger, be quiet, Roger, don't do it. And finally, the judge makes it almost all the way around the room, knocking on the walls. And he says, shave and a haircut. And he can't take it anymore. And Roger yells and goes jumping out through the wall.
Busts through the wall.
And sings the two bits.
I'm going to say, based on Roger's activity, that drywallers in Toontown are probably kept very busy because he
Probably.
busts holes in a lot of walls.
Probably so. But it's one of my favorite parts because it's just funny.
I will also mention, in terms of cartoon theology,
Are you taking my
I
spot
thought you
from
were
me again?
finished. Were you not finished?
Do we need to talk about theology?
Cartoon theology. The weasels who were working with the villain in this movie, when they laughed themselves to death, were clearly depicted as going to heaven. They were going up playing harps. So either, it would appear that there's some sort of cartoon universalism that, like, all tunes go to heaven.
So you're saying there's no cartoon hell?
I'm guessing not, because if anyone was going to go to cartoon hell, you would think the weasels would be right up there on the list.
Okay.
So
They were
apparently,
just doing their jobs.
there is not a cartoon hell.
They were just doing their jobs as the Toon Police.
Okay. Are we going to trivia now?
We were already in. Yeah, we're going to trivia.
This movie marked the only time cartoon characters from both Walt Disney and the Warner Brothers appeared together on screen.
And also we had
What?
Woody Woodpecker. We had Betty Boop. We had a wide variety of cartoons from all sorts of cartoon companies.
And that this goes along with it. The film was made by Touchstone Pictures, which is owned by Disney. Warner Brothers agreed to allow its characters under the condition that its primary characters, Bugs and Daffy, got equal screen time to Disney's Mickey and Donald. As a result, Bugs and Mickey, as well as Daffy and Donald, are always on screen together.
Yes, we don't want.
Which includes the parachuting scene and the piano scene.
Yes, the piano scenes
Dueling pianos.
are Daffy and
Bugs Bunny.
Donald.
Was it Donald? Yes,
It was
that one was
Daffy and
Donald.
Donald, and the parachuting scene was Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse.
And then there's a scene towards the end that has all of the characters in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's never a scene with Mickey that doesn't have Bugs in it, or a scene with Daffy that doesn't have Donald in it. So.
And I already told you guys about the 3-ingredient dip.
Yep.
Yes.
It's not a good dip. I
So
would
it's not
not.
fun dip?
Right, I would not take chips and dip in there.
Fun dip.
Mm-mm.
So apparently
I wouldn't fun dip it either.
on the special edition DVD, Robert Zemeckis recounts that he had been in a newspaper interview, and in the newspaper interview, he had talked about the fact that him and Steven Spielberg had really wanted Bill Murray for the role of Eddie Valiant, but they couldn't get a hold of him to get him to audition. Bill Murray read the newspaper interview and was so upset about not having had this opportunity, because he would have absolutely taken it, that he literally, even though he was out in a public place, he literally screamed because he was so disappointed at not having this opportunity.
Because he would have accepted the role.
Absolutely.
Why don't you read the next one,
Don't
Shelby?
we have the special edition DVD?
We do.
Why didn't we watch that stuff?
Because we watched the movie.
But we could have watched the special edition stuff.
Why don't you read the next one, Shelby, about Jessica Rabbit?
No.
Yes, go ahead.
No.
Shelby, read it.
No.
Shelby.
I'm not good at reading out loud.
Bob Hoskins claimed that Jessica Rabbit had not been sketched yet when he was acting his roles. So they told him Robert Zemeckis in particular told him to imagine his sexual fantasy. And when he saw the actual drawings, he said that his mental images were much less risque than what Jessica actually looked like in the film.
And Jessica Rabbit's speaking voice was performed by Kathleen Turner, but her singing voice was performed by Amy Irving. Only Irving was credited, which I would have been really ticked off because there were much more speaking parts than that.
Though I think Kathleen Turner's career's worked out okay.
It's true, but still. But Kathleen Turner was actually 9 months pregnant when she recorded Jessica Rabbit's voice.
So she probably didn't have the same figure as Jessica Rabbit?
I
Or
don't know.
no human
It's just,
actually has the same figure as
yeah,
Jessica
nobody
Rabbit?
could ever have that figure.
They could, but it would have a lot of work done.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible.
Stubby Kaye played Marvin Acme in the movie. It was his last acting role because he was dipped at the end of the movie and died.
I'm pretty sure that's not actually the real truth there.
Why do we keep watching movies where the actors die almost immediately after the movie's film or a couple years after?
Okay, he actually died 9 years after, so it was several years.
But he quit acting
But
after
this was the last acting
But
role he
still,
took.
they die a couple years after the film.
He died at age 79.
It's better
So
than the
when we
Glenn
watch
Poltergeist
movies
who
that
died
are
at age 12.
when we watch movies that are over 30 years old, sometimes you'll run into situations where the actors have died since then.
No, but like a couple years after.
326 animators worked full-time on the film. In total, 82,080 frames of animation were drawn. That's a lot. Including storyboards and concept art. Animation director Richard Williams estimates that well over 1 million drawings were done for the movie. It's a lot of paper and pencil.
Yes, I read that they had to take the actual film that they filmed for the movie, and then they had to draw frame by frame the animation that would go in the film so that it matched up to what was happening in the scene, including the shadows. And in one scene in particular, Bob Hoskins had hit one of the hanging lights, so the shadows were moving around the room during the scene, and they were very intentional to make sure, even in that scene where the shadows were moving because of the light moving, to make sure that Roger's shadow matched Bob's so that it was moving with the light swinging in the room. They wanted to have that much detail in the animation. And Mae Questel. If you don't know who Mae Questel is, she...
Is it Questel?
I don't know.
I was just asking.
Mae Questel was a voice actress who was the original voice of Betty Boop. She did the voice from 1930 to 1939. And then she retired the character of Betty Boop and went on to voice Olive Oyl in the Popeye cartoons. But she came back for this movie nearly 50 years after retiring the Betty Boop character to bring her back for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So, we talked about one of our favorite scenes. Do we have any other favorite scenes in the movie? Shelby, do you have any favorite scenes? Did you just hate the movie?
I like the movie. I don't pick favorite scenes.
You just don't like the scenes in the movie?
I don't pick favorites. I do not play favorites.
I think you do.
I don't.
Who's your favorite parent?
I don't pick
It depends on the day of the week.
Who's my favorite family member? The dogs.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they can start paying for your junk.
And taking you to school in the morning, cooking you dinner.
I can get myself to school.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, what are some of your favorite scenes, Jason?
Well, I liked the one you talked about, the shaving a haircut. I liked the scene where Bob Hoskins or Eddie Valiant decides that to get them out of the situation where Jessica and Roger are tied up, he is going to make the weasels laugh themselves to death.
Yeah.
And so he starts doing all of the crazy dancing and jumping around and hitting himself with stuff. And then that's when we get into the deep theological question of whether there is a cartoon hell.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept there.
Yeah. So that's probably my favorite. That's one of the funniest scenes. The taxi scene's pretty funny because the taxi is really mouthy and has a attitude.
I mean, it's funnier when the taxi starts driving a car.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
When the taxi is driving another car inside of him.
When the taxi gets inside a car and starts driving it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
After hitting on Jessica Rabbit.
Everyone hit on Jessica Rabbit.
Exactly. The actual humans, the
cartoons. Yeah. The weasels, everyone hit on Jessica Rabbit.
But she was a loyal girlfriend. Was she a wife?
She a wife. She was married to him.
A loyal wife.
I mean, she was flirty.
Her name was Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah, I just realized
she wasn't a rabbit. Her last name was Rabbit because she was married.
Well, and Eddie thought she was a rabbit, and that was pretty funny. When he went to the club to see her perform, and Mr. Acme started putting on his cologne before she came out, he's like, "Why are you doing that?" He's like, "Well, you know, you haven't seen Jessica Rabbit." And he said, "Yeah, getting yourself all dolled up for a rabbit?" And he said, "Oh, you'll see." And all she did was stick one leg out, and Eddie's eyes and mouth like dropped to the floor. And he was hooked.
Yeah, Betty Boop literally at one point takes his chin and lifts it back up to close his mouth.
Poor Betty Boop had to work as a waitress because she wasn't doing well as a performer.
Because they were not into black and white tunes anymore.
Yeah, poor Betty.
But you know, Betty Boop's figure is more attainable than Jessica Rabbit's.
Except for her giant head.
Well,
I don't know. Have you met your son?
I was about to say, you know, Ray's grown into his head.
It's true. Ray's head looks more proportioned now. So let's look at some of our alternate casting. Judge Doom. Robin Williams was actually considered for both the roles of Judge Doom and Eddie Valiant.
And that would make sense.
Robin Williams, very funny actor.
Mm-hmm. Eddie Murphy revealed on Inside the Actors Studio that he turned down the role of Eddie Valiant, and he regretted that decision later, which, you know, he should.
A few other actors that were considered for Eddie Valiant were Wallace Shawn,
Robert Redford,
Harrison Ford,
Sylvester Stallone, I can't see that one happening,
Jack Nicholson,
and Ed Harris.
And Steven Spielberg's first choice for Eddie Valiant was Harrison Ford, but his price was too high. It seems like in movies we've reviewed that Steven Spielberg was involved in, Harrison Ford is frequently a top choice. And
Had a favorite.
yeah, Steven Spielberg wants to work with Harrison Ford on every movie he makes.
I wonder if he has a boy crush.
Maybe.
Seems
a
that
boy
way.
crush is just a crush, Mom.
Alrighty. I'm not sure what that means. Paul Rubens and Eddie Deason were considered for the role of Roger Rabbit.
Paul Rubens is better known as Pee Wee Herman. And Eddie Deasons has done a lot of voice acting. You may remember him as the annoying kid with glasses on the Polar Express. A lot of movies where there's a whiny, nerdy kid, Eddie Deasons does the voice.
Sir Christopher Lee turned down the role of Judge Doom. Lee has the first name as Christopher Lloyd, who played Judge Doom.
What
Isn't
a
that
coincidence. I
interesting?
wonder if any other Christophers were considered for the role. Christopher Robin, Christopher Reeve, who played Superman.
I don't think so. But Sting, believe it or not, was considered for the role of Judge Doom.
Roxanne.
I don't think he was considered to sing, though.
Why not?
John Cleese auditioned for the role of Judge Doom, but they didn't think the audience would take him seriously.
Cleese?
John Cleese.
John Cleese, Mom? John Cleese?
You know, it's funny how you're making fun of me, but you're not participating a whole lot sitting here.
John Cleese is notable as being one of the founding members of Monty Python. And apparently he was in a series of movies featuring Troye Sivan, which is how Shelby knows him,
That's correct.
even though he's been in a lot of things.
I don't watch a lot of the movies you guys watch.
But that is not the end to the list of people who were considered for Judge Doom.
We also have the king of horror and the voice at the end of Michael Jackson's Thriller video, Vincent Price.
We're not allowed to talk about Michael Jackson anymore, apparently.
Alec Baldwin,
Michael Keaton.
Christopher.
Are we allowed to talk about Michael Keaton as opposed to Michael
I don't know
Jackson?
who Michael Keaton is.
But Mr.
Beetlejuice.
Mom? Yeah, Beetlejuice.
No, you know why we're not allowed to talk about Michael Jackson.
But we are still allowed to talk about Michael Jackson because we want to. Christopher Walken, you are correct. There's another Christopher.
How about Christopher Running?
I don't know who that is.
Christopher Running.
I don't know.
That's what Dad said.
Christopher Jogging.
I'm about to throw something at you.
And Gene Hackman.
Of Hoosiers fame, because we're in Indiana, and Hoosiers are important.
All for Judge Doom.
You just released
Bum, bum,
our
bum.
location.
Yeah, well, everyone knows where we're at. We've talked about it before.
So,
Back home again in
No.
Indiana.
no. Let's move on and talk
But we're
about...
not in Gary, Indiana.
Hey, no.
Gary,
Let's talk
Indiana,
about
Gary,
some critics'
Indiana.
reviews.
So, actually, first we need to give our reviews.
We can do that after we talk about that.
No, we do our
Oh,
reviews
Jason.
first. We rate this movie out of 5 shiznits. So, 1 shiznit would mean that you hated the movie, you thought it was worthless, you think that it should never be watched by anybody. 5 shiznits would mean that it's a masterpiece, a classic, one of the best movies you've ever seen, and you would recommend that you do not go through your life without seeing it
Shelby?
under any circumstances.
How many shiznits do you give it?
5 stars.
No,
No,
we do shiznits
no
here.
5 stars.
We rated in shiznits.
I'm not using your
I'm
weird
sorry. Our child's a little slow.
5 stars. I'm not using your weird terms.
Shelby's a little slow.
I'm not slow. I just refuse to say that word.
I'm going to give it 4.6 shiznits. It's better than the movie we watched last week that I gave 4.2 shiznits. It's an extremely good movie. It's not like perfect, like if you died without seeing this movie, you would probably, I mean, I recommend you see it. But if you died without seeing it, I wouldn't say you lived an incomplete life.
I would probably give it like 3.75 shiznits.
Boo.
That's not a boo.
That's boo for you.
No, it's not a boo. I mean, it's okay. I could watch it once and not watch it again and be okay.
Boo.
You may not boo me on my podcast. Boo.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
That is my opinion, so stop booing me.
This movie has a 97% score on Rotten Tomatoes, 97% positive
Why do they call
reviews.
it Rotten Tomatoes? And when you get like the higher the Rotten Tomato score, the better. That you would think it's the opposite. Just saying.
Because it can be certified fresh or certified rotten. So if it's certified fresh, then it's fresh tomatoes. And this one's 97% fresh.
Okay.
So we have some critics' reviews to start with from Rotten Tomatoes. We have... Would you like me to read this? Shelby, do you want to read it?
No.
But Shelby wants to be a critic of me.
Okay, Shelby does not read aloud from papers because then I trip over my words every time.
So, imagine watching cartoon characters and relating to them as if they were flesh and bone. Sorry, not flesh and bone, flesh and blood. No bones, just blood. Instead of paint and ink. This is the slap-happy effect of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And please, a 24-karat salute to director Robert Zemeckis. This is by Carrie Rickey of the Philadelphia Inquirer. A reviewer so good she gets 2 first names.
Maybe she's married to Bobby Rickey.
Ricky Bobby?
Bobby Rickey.
Is that Ricky Bobby's brother?
Bobby Rickey. Her last name's Rickey. She could not be married to Ricky Bobby. Let's move on.
The second review, which is also a fresh review. Director Robert Zemeckis, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, is a murder mystery turned on its, in parentheses, very long rabbit ears. And a spirited tribute to the magic of animation and laughter. From Kathy Burke of UPI.
I peed what?
UPI. Like UP in someone's eye.
Wow. I don't think I've ever done that before.
And finally, a not-so-fresh review. I had to look for this one because there aren't very many not-fresh reviews. Apart from the interesting premise and novelty of seeing so many famous cartoon characters together on the screen, I was overall disappointed and it completely failed to live up to my memory. Scott Nash of 3 Movie Buffs. Scott, you suck.
Maybe his memory is just like not so good.
Dad, we're not allowed to use bully words.
You can't tell Dad and I what we are and aren't allowed to use on our podcast.
You aren't allowed to use bully words.
Scott,
Jason,
your review sucks.
why did you invite Shelby onto our podcast?
I don't know.
You said that I had to be on the podcast and I picked the movie, and I picked the movie.
Jason, let's not invite Shelby onto any more podcasts.
Okay.
So now we will get into some actual reviews from ordinary people like you and me.
I'll read them.
I don't know if I'll qualify as ordinary. So ordinary
read
people
them.
like you.
I'll read them.
Wow.
I've said it 4 times now. I'll read them. A 5-star by Jeff, young old-timer. All right. A timeless masterpiece. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? No question mark there. Is one of the most important milestones in movie history. The first thing that blew me away was the unprecedented cooperation of the 2 biggest rivals in animation.
Cooperation?
But Shelby's quick to tell me when I'm wrong when I'm reading.
No, you read it right. It says corporation.
I'm like, Shelby's telling me I'm reading it wrong. I think it was supposed to say cooperation.
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
Of the 2 biggest rivals in animation, Disney and Warner Brothers. Until this movie came out, no one ever dared to dream that Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse would appear in the same frames.
Except for this unprecedented corporation.
Thank you, Jeff, for making me speak the wrong words on my own podcast.
Come on, Jeff. You can do better.
Well, Jeff's a young old-timer. Maybe he is not speaking correctly any longer. The next one is a 5-star review by
Robert Mendenhall.
Thank you. 4 Oscars. Well-deserved Oscars for editing, visual effects, sound effects editing, and special achievement, animation direction. Recommend this delightful film, which combines live action and animation before CGI came into regular use. Watch for the beautifully realized details throughout. For example, the tunes have shadows. Ooh, ah. And when one is thrown against a Venetian blind, it bends and makes the sound of someone actually hitting a Venetian blind.
Hold on a second. Let me throw Shelby up against a Venetian blind so we can hear an example of this.
Well, you'll have to wait until we own the Venetian blinds. The interaction between live action and animation is so good, you quickly forget they're not really together at all. And much of the credit for such realistic interaction must go to live actor Bob Hoskins.
Yes, because if he was a dead actor, he wouldn't have done nearly as well.
I'll read the last one.
Okay.
The last one is a 1-star review by Julio. It's that the title of the review is "Don't Waste Your Time with This Stupid Movie." The review says, "Stupid movie."
So, to the point.
We're thinking Julio might just be a little stupid.
Yes.
We give Julio
1 star.
No, we give Julio no thumbs up.
Yes, he gets no shiznits. No shiznits for Julio.
Hasta la bye-bye, Julio.
So that is all we have for our podcast this week. In closing, you can follow us on Twitter at Sweet Shiznits.
Or at Gravy Boat Pirate.
That would be me. Or at Krista White 73.
I'm not that active.
I have a
on
Twitter.
Facebook.
I have a Twitter,
on Twitter.
but if you find my Twitter,
don't do it. We'll
Don't
come
do
after
it.
you.
Yes.
What do you mean I'm not that active on Facebook? I'm not that active on Twitter.
Yes.
I like to go on Twitter and just look up the president and see what kind of stupid stuff he's tweeting now. I'm sorry.
I make it a point of not looking at what the president's posting on Twitter.
For all of you guys who like him, I'm actually not sorry.
For both of you guys who like him, anyways. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/sweetshiznits. //
Go forward, not backward. By the way, for anyone who's wondering, we did go forward an hour, so hopefully you also did.
if you didn't,
It's too late by the time you get this. You're already you've been late to work and your life's already messed up.
Unless you work at Chick-fil-A. Wait, no. This comes out on Monday, doesn't it?
Yeah. Share our posts and tweets. Let your friends, family, and followers know about us. This is the best gift you can give us besides cash.
The best
Please
gift.
give us, you can't really give us cash, but you can give us money. You can give us money in particular at patreon.com/sweetshiznits. That is the best place to give us money. Though if you know us and want to just come over to our house and give us money.
Now you're wondering why we might need money. Because A, we have to pay fees to bring our podcast to you, and B, we need a little bit better equipment than what we have so that we can bring you better podcasts.
And I need pizza rolls.
We're not using podcast money to buy pizza rolls.
Yeah, Shelby really does want pizza rolls.
I do want pizza rolls.
Maybe we can put those in her mouth next time so she cannot talk on the podcast.
I'm fine with that if you buy me pizza rolls.
So, you can find us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify. We're on TuneIn Radio. We're on Stitcher. We're anywhere you can find quality podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Your ratings and reviews make us more visible. We are paid for by listeners like you.
Or we'd like to be.
And like I said before, if you want to be a supporter of Sweet Shiznits, you can go to our Patreon page. Again, patreon.com/sweetshiznits. You will get access to bonus content. We'll also mention you on the air, and you will get gifts and surprises. I keep being
And-
told not to say surprises because that comes
Yeah.
across as weird, but I like surprises.
Well, I mean,
You
we're
can't say surprises.
yeah, we're not going to send you Jason's dirty underwear, but
No, you can't say surprises while the dogs are in the room.
oh yeah, because they aren't listening though.
But if you do,
the
but,
dogs don't listen to podcasts. They don't even know how to operate a podcast app.
Okay, at the same time though, if you start donating money, you might be able to tell us what movie you would like us to review.
Yes, or not to review. And you can email us if you have any thoughts, any questions, anything you would like to let us know. You can email us at sweetshiznits@gmail.com.
Now, I don't really want to know what you're wearing when you listen to the podcast, unless it's like really cool tie-dye or something.
If you just want to let us know that you do wear pants while you're listening to the podcast, that's fine. Because we wear pants too.
Yeah, we're wearing pants now. We went to the gym earlier, so we're still wearing our gym clothes in case you wondered.
we being the two adults.
Yeah, Shelby was lazy.
Shelby is wearing pants, but Shelby did not go to the gym.
No.
Big surprise.
Biggest surprise that you're wearing pants?
Or that I didn't go to the gym? Who knows?
So that's all we have for this week. We look forward to talking to you again next week, where we will discuss another 80s movie and keep a look out, and you may get a sneak peek as to what that movie will be. We will talk to you later. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.